Rising cases of collapsed buildings in the country is becoming alarming. The situation is now made worse by the negative effects of extreme weather events. The February 13th rainstorm in Lagos has made this more evident. According to architects, the situation can be checked if quality materials are used for construction of buildings, in addition to adequate conformity with building procedures and standards.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is this. In construction, if you follow the codes, you will never go wrong. But here in this our country, people don't obey rules and regulations. There is rule and regulation in doing everything. Like this roof now, supposed to have rack bolts that will hold the rafters at intermediate positions. And when you are doing this type of job, you are supposed to employ the services of professionals. But here, the developer, the bricklayer, they will tell you they are engineers. And this is what we get every time.
There are things we look for before you commence the design of a building. Wind velocity, wind direction are parts of these things you look for. Then you want to look at the soil type of the environment where you want to design. Then you look out for the existing drains. The essence of wind velocity is to actually know what type of roof you are going to give to your building, the type of roof and the form of construction. This makes a lot of difference to withstand the wind velocity. Generally, what you find out these days is that people do what they want or what they like without taking certain parameters into cognizance. For example, you are building a house in an area where the wind velocity is high, and the roof members are not adequate enough. I mean, the sizes of the roof members, like the wall plates, the tie beams, the purlins, they have various sizes, and these sizes has to do with the velocity of the wind, because wind affects the roof more than the building envelope. So you have to take all this into consideration before you decide on the type of roof you use, the quality of wood you use, and the sizes of these timber roof members. If you don't use the right material, for example, where you are supposed to use 75 millimeter by 100 millimeter hardwood, seasoned hardwood for your timber, for your wall plates on the roof. If you go to use maybe 50 millimeter by 75 millimeter, then you see the size cannot withstand the velocity of the wind. And when you are tying these members to the wall, it has to be done with strong material, like a steel belt, non-corrosive steel belt. If you use this, then there is likelihood that the wind, no matter the velocity, the effect of the wind, will not be able to carry away the roof. So if you don't use the right members, the right material, then you are likely to have a failure of the building.
Buildings, according to experts, can be vulnerable to climate change. They say there is a likelihood that more buildings will collapse, deteriorate, and face significant damage as a result of strong storms, intense rainfalls, water encroachment, and flooding, among others. Constructions done without building codes or safety requirements would also be greatly affected.
The roof coverings too, they are dilapidated. One major thing in this area, one major aspect in this is the issue of lack of maintenance. People don't take maintenance culture into consideration when building or after the construction of the building. Roof is one of the areas that has to be maintained from time to time. We don't need to wait for such effect or for such occurrence to come before we start thinking about the maintenance, about changing what has to be changed or what has to be removed. So it is very, very important that after construction, maintenance should be the watchword. Percolates in it gets to the roof member, and the water weakens timber over time. And this you don't, because it's not a place you go to all of the time. So the moment you spot this is either you go up there, put right, the leaking spot. At that level, it costs very little to put it right. But when the magnitude becomes so much, then you may have to re-roof. At times, if your roof material is not properly fastened or properly held to the roof member, there's likelihood that with time, over time, wind effects will reduce the strength of such material. If you don't go back to check, maybe after a year or after 2 years, if you don't go back to check, you'll find that one day there will be high velocity of wind and it will blow off the roof. So these are the maintenance we carry out on roof. On the building itself, there are other maintenance. Like you see, you observe a crack. The crack could be structural, it could be plaster crack. You have to mend this. Don't leave it till it gets wide. Another problem is foundation. The foundation of the building is very, very important. You know, foundation cannot be corrected. When you make mistake about this, it can't be corrected. So at the time of construction, you have to ensure that adequate foundation is used for the building, depending on the location where the building is being constructed. In this area, I want to say that consultants or professionals in the building industry, many of these consultants are not involved in some of these local constructions. What people do because of the economic, the adverse of the effect of economic, what they do is get a quack. Just call somebody, a carpenter, a bricklayer, this is what I want you to do for me, this is the way I want it, I don't want to spend more than this amount. So he's made his budget already and doesn't want to go beyond his budget. Whereas his budget cannot fetch him a quality building that will stand the test of time. This is very important. There is the building codes, which Nigerians, which the states have not been adhering to. The building code stipulates all these conditions. This if you want to hire or if you want to rent a building, during rainy season, you get to the environment, you find water flowing into the building. That means the floor level of that building is lower than the level of the road out there. So you can't afford to move into such building. Then this, you know, in Lagos today, some people go renovate building. Even when they renovate, they still don't do it right. They just make a cosmetic finishing so that people will look at it and say, this is good, let me hire it. You have to look properly. At times you may have to call a professional to assist you in going through to actually ensure that the building you want to rent is in perfect state. Lagos State, in effecting the building code, has also directed that every building must have a certification of compliance to the code to be signed by builders, that this building is completely certified for habitation. So if any today, you may also ask your intending landlord if you can have that certificate. You want to be sure that a professional has already certified this building as being okay for habitation. Then you'll be sure, you'll be rest assured.
But knowing fake certificates in Nigeria and Lagos, supposed they give you a fake one?
Then you find out from the ministry. Yes, if you have presented the certificate, you can take a photocopy of it. Go to Alausa, that's Lagos State Government Secretariat. Go there and go to the appropriate office. They verify. They will tell you if the certificate is genuine or not. You will also be helping government in doing that.
The way a building is also erected can also aggravate the impact of intense heat.
You have to look at the headroom. Headroom, that is when you are in a building from the floor level to the ceiling. If it's low, the room is going to be hot. If the headroom is high, it accommodates more air. And when more air circulates, it takes out the carbon in the room. So you are able to have a comfortable atmosphere within the building. So we have to look at the headroom of the building being designed or being constructed.
Adaptation to the impact of climate change can be achieved if standards are enhanced, not just in construction of buildings, but also installation of infrastructure and facilities. Buildings, according to some architects and scientists, can play a key role in checking climate change. They have suggested that nations around the world should imbibe the green or eco-architecture.
Eco-architecture is ecology, the green, supporting the architecture in place and keeping, it's more of the tree preservation or the landscaping and leaving the architecture in its natural environment.
Why is it important?
It is important because it also helps to reduce carbon emission. The green is good against carbon emission. The greener the world is, the more healthy you live. And the greener the society, the better the world for all of us. With green technology, it helps to save on energy, and it helps to look into the use of materials for the structures, and it enhances recycled building materials. A lot of the green being displayed does support eco-architecture. There are a few housing projects, estates, that are being developed, adopting the eco-architecture as much as it can, moving from a zero architecture, as we put it, retaining the natural environment as much as possible while still providing the structures required within same settlement.
The history of green buildings dates back to the 1800s to early 1900s, when a number of solar power plants were built to utilize the sun's energy for steam power.